before joining Hydrogen, I worked in various different sales and marketing sort of account management roles, doing various different topics, industries, etc. So I had that sales sort of background and foundation, as well as dealing with sort of clients and customers, essentially.
I was actually a lawyer before becoming a recruiter. So I did both of my undergrad and my postgraduate degree in Scotland, where I trained and qualified. So it was a small firm that I worked at before, and on qualification, I focused on criminal and civil litigation, which I did enjoy. But for me, I think I was thinking about longer term, and it's a bit of a thankless it was a bit of a thankless job, if I'm honest with you. And I kind of felt that for me, I just wasn't career satisfied, and I wasn't going to be without a change. I also just wanted to make more money, and I've always been really drawn to London. My best friend's dad lived here, and we spent a lot of time here when we were younger, and she'd moved down to London. My boyfriend was in London, and I just thought, actually, I really want to do that and make a bit of a change to my circumstances. So for me, it was about finding something that wouldn't have discounted all of the many years I spent becoming a lawyer. I didn't want to turn my back completely on the law. It was almost like a safety blanket, because it was all I'd ever known. So that's what I had in mind. And I'd spoken with a number of people actually who transitioned to legal recruitment from a similar position to me. It's actually a really common move. So I went ahead, decided to meet some recruitment firms, and here I am.
Before recruitment, I'd done a couple of different things, but I left school at 16 and actually became an engineer for 7 years through an apprenticeship and higher education before then joining the police force up in Scotland. So I was a police officer for 2 years, didn't really see myself doing that forever, and had a lot of friends and connections down in London who actually recommended that I get into recruitment, and I must admit I didn't really know that it was an entire sector, certainly not one as large as it is.
I'm a trained and qualified solicitor and barrister. So prior to joining Hydrogen, I was in private practice and I focused in corporate finance.
After leaving uni, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, bounced around between a few different jobs, and eventually decided that I wanted to go down the legal route. So I was paralegaling with a firm in London across a number of different departments, including intellectual property, insurance disputes, and employment law. Yeah, I think fair to say that I never really found my passion for any of them, and became quite frustrated with the training contract application cycle. And I think I just wanted something a bit different out of my career. I wanted something that would offer me a bit more, a bit sort of quicker gratification, faster progression and development, provided I was sort of willing to put the work in. And I think that's really what attracted me to recruitment in the first place. I was sort of steered towards that by a few friends and family who've had successful careers in recruitment, and said that a lot of the attributes that I have, I like talking to people, I like having autonomy over my day, yeah, sort of taking that responsibility for your own progression, I think, was what initially steered me towards it.
I was particularly interested in recruitment because some people may describe me as fairly competitive. So I do like the whole sort of setting targets and having that sort of daily achievements, etc. And also in terms of recruitment, I quite liked the legal aspect, particularly because it is very prestigious and very professional, and I felt like my previous sales background would suit that nicely. Hydrogen in particular really piqued my interest because of just the brand and reputation it had in the market, as well as the fact that the people at Hydrogen had been there for such a long time. And typically in sales, you can see quite a big sort of high turnover. So I was really pleased to see that people were long-standing and had been there for many years, and there was plenty of room to grow from the bottom up.
When I decided to meet with some recruitment firms, I did go for a lot of big firms, small firms. I wanted to try out lots of different things. And for me, the reason in the end I chose Hydrogen was basically the people, I think. So it was the mentorship that I could see myself getting there, and different firms do things differently. And there's a culture at Hydrogen of collegiate working, and you're rewarded in that way as well to work together. And just the type of person that I am, I do really like to work in a team. I like to work with people, and have a bit of an encouraging community environment. That's the kind of best way that I learn and grow. So for me, the way that Hydrogen was set up to reward people that worked in that way just made sense to me. Additionally to that, it was the attitude to kind of work in life as well. So there was always the flexibility to do your role in your time, and take time to yourself when you need it, whether that be to make an appointment or maybe just to meet even a social obligation. There's always a flexibility to work to your lifestyle. And I saw that thread right through. So there were, for example, parents that were working within the team, working really flexibly, which I thought was great. And equally, there was also a lot of women in senior roles, which I didn't see at any of the other firms that I met. And it was women that were in senior roles who had been there quite a long time. So for me, as quite an ambitious person, it seemed like a really good move to go to somewhere where it's established that women can do well and work their way up.
I was introduced to Hydrogen, and yeah, really was impressed with both their coverage, both globally and in terms of sectors, and the fact that they were so honest with me about career progression and my own potential, I guess, throughout however long I would be here. And yeah, 6.5 years on, I'm now fairly successful in my markets, which are the UK in-house legal market, and get to work with some pretty exciting clients throughout media, sport, energy, technology, and various other sectors.
I was relocating to London and I wanted a change from the sort of grueling hours of private practice, and went into a recruitment firm as a candidate for a role and discovered that the recruitment consultant who I was working with was an ex-lawyer. So I got in touch with a few recruitment firms and I figured that's a new career path for me. And given my legal background, and that a lot of my skill set was sort of transferable, like the analysis, the attention to detail, the kind of understanding of legal terminology and legislation, it just made it so much appropriate for me to consider this role in recruitment. So given this is a career change for me, I had the opportunity to meet with several recruitment companies in London. And amongst them all, Hydrogen was probably one of the more sociable organizations with regular team and office activities. There was also a more structured training on offer, and which was quite essential for someone considering a career change like myself. And it was just, it just seemed very supportive and collegiate as an environment. The diversity helped, and the people are just really nice.
I worked for another agency in the London market for about 18 months prior to joining Hydrogen. And I think what kind of pushed me towards Hydrogen in the first place was that was initially sort of getting the buzz for the legal recruitment industry and getting the sense that I could do this job. But then for me, it was about taking the next step to find the best platform for my development and ultimately career success. And I think what I found particularly appealing about the platform at Hydrogen is the training on offer. the industry knowledge that you're exposed to, being around your colleagues on a day-to-day basis, is really second to none. And I think having that opportunity to become a real expert in your niche was what sold me on the company.
I came to hydrogen from a legal background, and when I was sort of looking for a role, I had interviewed at Hydrogen and I think a couple of other recruitment agencies. And I think what really stood out was just that everyone seemed quite, I just really liked everyone that I'd met. And I think some of the other agencies I didn't really get such a good kind of feeling for, like about the culture and about the people, like, you know, everyone I met I really liked. I think like I think Katie was saying, you know, it felt like everyone was quite keen to ensure that I knew sort of what I would be getting myself into a bit, because obviously it's a bit of a switch, you know, from a different career into recruitment. So I think that is kind of what made the difference. You know, it was more about making sure that fit was there rather than just like, you know, Hydrogen kind of deciding if I was right for them. So I think that was kind of what made me choose Hydrogen.
For me, the best thing about recruitment is just the camaraderie. I think even if there are highs and lows, more often than not, the highs outweigh the lows significantly. Particularly with hydrogen, there are so many bonus schemes and sort of added extras that you can be working towards on a weekly, even daily, sort of monthly basis, which really rewards you and just is really good fun as well.
For me, the best thing about recruitment is, as opposed to my earlier career, it's a lot more about relationships. So it's a relationship career, basically, whether that's with your colleagues or your clients, or lawyers that you're working with. So within legal recruitment especially, it's not transactional, it's about building up those relationships over time. And it just means that you care that little bit more. So you've got these people that you're connected with, and there's always a problem you're trying to solve, whether that's someone who needs a new job, or a client that's got a role that needs filled, or a colleague that's looking for your help to do one of those things. So there ends up, because you care so much and it's all about these relationships, I just feel that there's so many highs in a single day or a week, whether that be you've got an interview for someone, or a lawyer's got good feedback, or you've managed to fill a role that a client's been looking to fill for so long. There's just so many kind of small rewards and big rewards along the way. And I don't really think there's another career that you can compare that has so many ups and downs. So yeah, I think that for me is definitely the best thing about it.
The best thing about recruitment, I think, is definitely the potential to earn is up there. I mean, I know money's not everyone's motivator, but it's certainly a key part of this industry. And yeah, when you live in London and get up to some of the things that we enjoy, then yeah, it definitely is a big bonus. But equally, I think the opportunity to impact some people's careers and therefore their lives, as cliche as it sounds, is definitely a benefit. And especially when, again, I work in industries that are particularly attractive, you can sometimes help people get what they would potentially class as their dream job. But also, certainly at Hydrogen, the flexibility that we're offered around, you know, working from home and working the hours that suit our own personal circumstances, I think that's pretty hard to beat. But that might be a bit more specific to us rather than recruitment.
For me, personally, I think it's the sort of opportunities offered, like the uncapped earning potential, the autonomy to work in a way that fits me without being micromanaged. That was really important for me, along with, of course, the privilege of networking with some of the brightest minds in the industry, both clients and lawyers. And also for me personally, more than any of that above, I think the feeling I get when I have done a really good job for a client or a candidate, you know, it's super satisfying. So I believe that's the best thing about recruitment for me.
I think my favourite parts about working in recruitment is the true variation of your working day. No 2 days are the same, whether that be talking to sort of different personality types from a candidate and client perspective, working on different roles. Part of our function involves talking to clients and candidates in all different parts of the world, and kind of learning the cultural differences between those regions. I think the sense of accomplishment as well, when you find a candidate help a candidate find their dream role, is particularly rewarding. And also on the other side of things, knowing that you're a real asset to your client's recruitment process, and obviously having more autonomy over your earnings than you might do in other lines of work is a real pull factor for me.
Probably one of the best things, apart from the kind of culture, which I think a lot of people have mentioned, is the kind of level of training actually that we get. So I think a lot of other places don't offer as good training, which I think is really important to give you that kind of credibility when you're speaking to candidates. Like, you feel quite confident that you know sort of what you're talking about, which is quite important. And also, like, there is a really high level of support. So like, we have, you know, morning meetings every day and weekly kind of review meetings. So, you know, there's not really many opportunities to get too kind of stuck on anything, I guess I would say.
One of my most memorable moments is probably my first deal that I did. And of course, you know, nothing tastes as good as your most recent or the next deal. But the first one was just such a good one to get under my belt. And it was with a US firm. So it was big ticket stuff, and just couldn't wait for that commission to come through. Another one is probably just going on one of the hydrogen trips, the annual incentive.
Well, yeah, it goes without saying that there's definitely been lots of memorable moments throughout my 6.5 years, and yeah, a lot of them involve days out with work, trips away, rewards, incentives, etc. But yeah, one thing that definitely did make me laugh was after reading on our system that a candidate didn't want to be approached, was very hostile, only for me to then call her anyway, and for the call to go so well that at the end she confessed to me secretly that she and her then husband had basically eloped at the weekend, got married, and she no longer needed a visa, which was quite pertinent to her search. So yeah, basically the point being, people will often surprise you, and yeah, it's never dull, that is for sure.
The most memorable moment for me is when I placed this associate at a leading elite US firm, when she has been told by pretty much everyone in the industry that she can't be placed. And when she was placed, she came back from her holiday and she brought me a crystal gold bracelet, and she said it was picked for me by her grandmother. I think that was the most memorable or the sweetest moment in my time at Hydrogen.
I think probably my first business trip out to Dubai was definitely very memorable. I mean, all of them have been, you know, memorable or forgettable sometimes, depending on what you're doing. But the first one was really memorable just because it was, you know, I've been working the market for, I think, probably about 4 or 5 months by then, maybe a bit longer. And just seeing what it's like out there, you know, really gives you an idea of a bit more what it's like, and obviously how to kind of sell it. And you know, it's just somewhere that's not really like anywhere else. So it's really good to kind of get an understanding of, you know, what it's actually like out there. So that was quite memorable for me.
There was one time I was on the phone to a switchboard and I had to spell out someone's name. And I did say Jai for Juliet on the phone, which is just how I say that letter, H-I-J-K. That was, I think I'd only been at Hydrogen for like 2 weeks and everyone was looking at me like, what did you just say? And it's just from there, every single week there's something new that I say that, well, I don't find out it's Scottish until after I've said it, really.